Okay, Georgia, I want you to read this silently in your head. When you've finished, read the questions, think about the answers. You can go back and find them in the text if you need to. Let me know when you're ready, and then I'll get you to read it out loud to me. All right, okay? So read this out loud to me. You can stop and think and reread if you need to. I want you to listen to the questions when we're finished, okay?
Melissa found it lying in the gutter, a pathetic-looking plant with few leaves. It wasn't much more than a stick in a cracked pot with dry soil. Her heart went out to it. She felt that it needed her. Nobody at home knew about plants. They all had busy lives and no time or space to be gardeners. At the garden centre, Melissa got a new potting mix and some advice. They couldn't identify the plant from her description, only saying that it was probably a shrub. Melissa followed their instructions and lovingly nurtured it back to health. Several fresh green leaves appeared. It would soon need a bigger pot. She discovered she had a talent for growing plants, and it wasn't long before it had company by the shelf on the window. Then one afternoon, a visitor admired the plant, saying, "A bay tree is an unusual pot plant." At that, Melissa's mother looked at it closely, plucked a leaf, and bit it before smiling. She smiled with recognition. "I should have known that. I use bay leaves in stews and casseroles, but I get them dried and packaged from the supermarket, so no wonder I didn't recognize it." Melissa, filled with curiosity, investigated further. She found, to her horror, that bay trees grow to a height of at least 10 meters. That was huge. Her act of kindness had created a problem.
Thank you, Georgia. Good job. All right, let's go to the questions. Now remember, you can go back to the text at any time that you need to and find the information in the text, although I will remind you that some questions are right there questions, some questions are think and search, some questions are author and me, so you've got to use a bit of what you know as well as what the author has written, okay?
Yeah.
Good girl. First question, where did Melissa get her advice?
Melissa got her advice at a garden centre from
Thank you.
a garden centre
Good.
person.
And where did she keep the plant?
She kept her plants on a shelf by a window.
Thank you, good girl. When did Melissa's mother look closely at the plant?
One afternoon.
Can you give me some more information?
Melissa's mother looked closely at the plant one afternoon at a garden centre.
Did Melissa take the plant with her when she went to the garden centre?
She did,
How do you know that?
because in the text it says that it was on a shelf by the window, and one of the only ways that it could have got there was she bought it because she was the one who found it.
Thank you. All right. What was the company on the shelf? Can you find that in the text?
It doesn't say what the company was, but it's probably more of that type of plants because it's a plant. It's at a plant centre.
Well done, thank you. All right, number 6. There's a word underlined over here. Let's see if we can find it. It says, a pathetic looking plant with few leaves. What do you think pathetic means in this sentence?
A not well grown or looked after, and not very well looked after.
Well done. There's another underlined word in the text down here. It says, at that, Melissa's mother looked at it closely, plucked a leaf and bit it before smelling it. What does plucked mean?
It means like not like ripped off, but kind of taken off carefully.
Well done, thank you. Next question. Had Melissa's mother ever seen a bay tree before?
Yes, she has.
How do you know that?
In the text it says, I should have known that. I use bay leaves in stews and casseroles. But then I get them dried and packaged from the supermarket, so no wonder I didn't recognize it.
Did the visitor tell Melissa that bay trees grow so very big?
No.
How do you know that?
In the text it says she investigated, so the visitor didn't tell her. She figured it out herself.
Well done. Question 10. Yes is a correct answer. No is also a correct answer, but it will depend on your reason for choosing that answer. So what do you think Melissa should have done with the plant? Or what do you think she should do with the plant?
I think she should take it home and take care of it herself, seeing she thinks she's such a good person to look after plants.
Thank you. Well done. All right, Georgia. So that's not an error because even though she stumbled, she got that right. That's error number 1. Repeat. 2 more errors. Errors 2 and 3. 1 self-correction. Another self-correction. So a total of 3 errors and 2 self-corrections. Self-corrections, 2. 3 errors is 234. So that will be 98%, given that theoretically you don't round up, you take the full percentage, nothing as a fraction. Her speed was appropriate. Low hesitation, some of it, but not much. Low omission, low insertion, and certainly no dependence there. Okay. When determining whether or not a student's response to a question is acceptable, it's simply a matter of referring to the teacher's book. There's very clear-cut information regarding which responses, which phrases, which words are acceptable as an answer, correct answer, and which ones, or if they don't use that answer or those words, then you can't mark it correct. And it quite clearly says at times there's no half marks, it's correct or it's not, and you use this to determine acceptable answers. Okay, for example, question 4, did Melissa take the plant with her when she went to the garden centre? The student said yes, the text says etc., which really doesn't relate at all to the answer. The answer in the text, at the garden centre, they couldn't identify the plant from her description. So if she had to describe it, she didn't have it with her. That was what they were looking for in the response, that she had to describe what it was like. So they couldn't possibly have known or couldn't possibly have seen it. When it comes to recording the students' results, the codes are here by the side of the questions. So it's simply a matter of saying LI, which is the literal question. She got it correct. There's only 1 of them. She got 1 out of 1. For reorganisation, she got 1 out of 2. For inference, she got 1 out of 2. And it's just a matter of transferring the data from here down to there to determine the total number correct, and from that to get a percentage and identify whether it's sufficient to have passed. In this case, it was less than the pass mark, and so the student will need to do another running record down 1 level. Even though her reading accuracy is a pass, we need a pass in both of those areas in order to be confident that the student is reading appropriately as an instructional level. Now, to make use of this information in the best possible way, we look at the deficiencies. For example, if we go over here to vocabulary, she got 2 out of 2 for vocab, so she's pretty good at understanding the meaning of words within a context and identifying those meanings. The things that she has that we have to work on with her are the ones where she didn't get her full scores, which is pretty much every other area. So literal is pretty straightforward. It's right there in the text. She's got to be able to pick up that information and identify it. Well, she got 1 out of 1 for those. Inference, that's the next level up, inferring what the author's meaning was from a piece of text. Reorganisation is the think and search type questions where there might be 2 or 3 pieces of information scattered throughout the text, and the reader needs to put those together in order to come up with an answer. evaluation and reaction are very closely linked, and they are the higher level, for example, on Bloom's taxonomy, where the student needs to really analyse the text a lot deeper. Given that this text is one for 12 to 13-year-olds and that the student reading it was 9-year-old, it's not surprising that she hasn't gotten these correct, because the level of analysing and evaluating is meant to be that of a 12-year-old. So that's something that we can work on, but it probably wouldn't be critical at this stage.